We actually just ran an analysis of like 930,000 plus interviews over the last 6 months.
A lot of content.
A lot of content, trying to understand what's going on in the context of like comp, benefits, what are people interested in from a candidate perspective when they're considering an opportunity. And it was fascinating to see comp almost never comes up.
It's not the top priority that people think it is.
Truly, of all of the interviews that we analyze, comp comes up in like fewer than 2% of them. You would think it's being talked about all the time. What people actually care about is...
Welcome to the podcast, where we introduce you to incredible humans who share their journeys with the mission to inspire you to harness your own inner tenacity to drive your life and career forward. And now, your host, Adam Posner.
We are back with Teddy ChestnutL over here at BrightHire. So I did the introduction, but why don't you tell folks what you do there and what does BrightHire do?
So my name's Teddy ChestnutL. I'm one of the co-founders of BrightHire. So I don't know, all the things.
You have to.
I have to. No, I lead our go-to-market team. I think about our customer journey from start to finish. BrightHire is the leading interview intelligence platform. We bring AI into the hiring process to help teams elevate the way that they hire, save time. We're building a whole set of agentic workflows and kind of insights and analytics that help up-level the TA team, the strategic role that they can play within the org.
Let's take a step back here, and I don't get to do this that often, but let's talk about the origin story of BrightHire. I think it's important. Let's talk about the evolution of identifying a problem in the industry that needed to be solved, and how did you go about building these tools to solve it?
So the long roundabout story is a lot of people fall into recruiting. I was like born into it. Both of my parents were in HR for 30 years.
Oh, wow.
My dad
did your DNA.
My dad met my mom as a recruiter.
What a love story here.
She got that job on her own merits. I grew up with dinner table conversations about comp plans and campus recruiting and executive bonuses. So
wow, this is gonna be a good one, folks.
And then I worked at CEB doing HR research right out of undergrad. I ended up at LinkedIn for 6.5 years, and a very close childhood friend of mine, my co-founder Ben, also grew up in and around HR. He went to Cornell ILR, also worked at CEB, worked in M&A, acquiring companies like PayScale. So we've been in the space for a really long time. And he came to me with a problem statement about 7 years ago saying, doesn't hiring seem like the most important thing that we do in business?
Yes.
But the least rigorous, and there's no data, and there's no way to improve. Like, we spend more agita over a $15,000 software purchase than we do like $150,000 salary that we're going to commit to.
Aren't your people the most important thing? Right. You should invest into them.
So anyway, he had this problem statement, and I was working at LinkedIn and saw technology being brought into business, like in a sales context and customer success context, where conversations drove all those outcomes, and we were starting to record and transcribe them. Now, this was pre-LLM, commercialization, pre-COVID. So it was a crazy idea back in 2019 to say we should record and transcribe our interviews.
Imagine that. Imagine thinking now what we know now, how crazy that idea is.
Yeah. So we started with like, we'll capture recruiter screens, and that'll be enough. And then the whole world went remote, and the world kind of caught up. But yeah, the genesis of BrightHire was understanding that hiring is the most important thing. It's all conversations, and you can't improve what you can't see. So we should help people do important work that is difficult and capture really valuable data that otherwise just doesn't exist, and we can improve the process that way.
What was the first aha moment when you were in beta that proved that we are doing the right thing, we're onto the right thing, let's double down and keep it going?
My favorite story from the really early days of BrightHire, our very first customer ever, a guy named Cody Horton, ran a small staffing firm actually called Diverse Recruiting Experts. And we had them on a pilot, and we were nervous to ask him to actually pay for the product. Because you got to imagine, like, in the really early days, what does the product look like? And we gave him a price tag, and I'll never forget this. Cody was like, are you charging me enough? Like, are you going to make money on this deal? And God bless him. He was amazing. But the willingness to pay, and then like, the first couple customers we saw and the user base just growing and growing and growing. And the feedback we were getting back from recruiters being like, you're going to have to like pry this from my cold dead hands. And we were clearly onto something, even though the product at that point was clunky and it was really early days.
Of course, you're early stage here.
But there was a lot of pull from recruiters.
So let's talk a little bit about adoption, the current state of the product right now. How do you, listen, there's some teams and some recruiters that are resistant to change. How do you get over that hurdle?
At this point, I think like the world is really caught up. Everybody's recording and transcribing every meeting that they're in.
They're used to it at this point. You can have an AI recording tool in every single meeting.
And so I think like we've really gotten over that hurdle. Now folks are really thinking about how do we not just deliver efficiency, AI notes in my scorecard and the ATS, but how do we unlock insights, analytics, agentic workflows that help us do the next set of work. We really don't, honestly, we don't get a lot of pushback at this
Okay,
point.
we'll take it to the next point here. It's one thing to have all the data at your fingertips. The next thing is to encourage and show teams how to use it. What are some of those real aha insights that you have, just generally speaking across the market? Then maybe the things that we're not really thinking about when the data is in front of you, but you're not seeing, reading between the lines.
Yeah, I'll give you a good example. We actually just ran an analysis of like 930,000 plus interviews over the last 6 months.
A lot of content.
Trying to understand what's going on in the context of like comp, benefits. What are people interested in from a candidate perspective when they're considering an opportunity? And it was fascinating to see comp almost never comes up.
It's not the top priority that people think it is.
Truly, of all of the interviews that we analyzed, comp comes up in like fewer than 2% of them. You would think it's being talked about all the time. What people actually care about is like remote and flexible work. Still, it's like one of the top topics that folks care about. They care about company growth. They care about, like, especially right now, how innovative is the product that they're getting themselves into.
Innovation is critical.
And so like being able to take data like that and bring it back to our customers. And obviously we cut this down by like, seniority, function, location.
Right.
As they're thinking about their EVP.
It's hyper sliced.
We're giving them like real data that they can use to drive outbound messaging, recruitment marketing, FAQs that they need the recruiters and hiring managers and interviewers to be prepared to answer questions around. It's that kind of data that like really gets people excited.
How are you guys handling fraud?
I remember an email and a text message that I got about 18 months ago from one of our early customers saying, I have a new use case for you. And she described how they had onboarded a new hire, and the recruiter who happened to be in the onboarding was like, I'm not so sure that that's the person that we interviewed.
This is real, folks. This is happening.
And they went back to the BrightHire candidate profile, which captures thumbnail snippets of all the interviews, and they were able to verify that this person was not the person who interviewed. And since then, we've had, truly like dozens and dozens of customers come back and say, we're building standard operating procedures around checking that it was the same person in all the interviews, that it's the same person who showed up as who interviewed. There's a lot of manual workflows around that today, but there's a lot that we're doing to start to automate that. You can think about all sorts of signals, right? IP addresses and facial.
If you're in recruiting, you already know that sourcing eats up way more of your day than it should. That's why I use Pin. Instead of writing Boolean searches and tweaking filters, you just describe what you're looking for and who you're looking for in plain English. I could type something like software engineer at Series A startup with 0 to 1 product experience, and Pin will surface a relevant shortlist right away. No guessing, no wasted time. It turns hours of sourcing into seconds. So book a demo today and see for yourself. Visit pin.com/demo. Tell them Adam sent you.
There's so many things that actually. So what's the next frontier, the next hurdle? I like to say at this point, if we're using Transformers barometer, we're in the third. I think we're in like the bottom of the third with the AI. We're still in the early part of the game. What's the next innovation? What's the next level? Where are we taking this tech to? What hasn't been uncovered yet?
I think in general, and
Give us the alpha, Teddy.
This is not specific to recruiting or HR technology. I think this is true of like all software in the world right now. Historically, software was built to help people do work, to organize the work. Think about an ATS, right? It organizes who's in what stage of the process and helps you structure that work. And then think about like technology that we built early on. It helps somebody run an effective interview. It helps you build the interview plan. It helps you fill out your feedback, but it's all about an assist to people doing the work. And AI is clearly becoming capable of just doing work.
So how do we manage that from a workflow? Like what's the next workflow in the recruitment process that recruiters are going to feel comfortable with? They may not feel it right away. They may not want to relinquish control, but they're going to realize once they automate a certain part of the workflow, it's going to give them more time for real conversations.
Well, I think if you walk the floor here, you'll see there's tons of companies that are building like AI interviewers.
Right.
We're one of them, because I think we have a very strong conviction that if you can offer many more people the opportunity to express their qualifications, their accreditations, their motivations beyond what they can express in a resume and beyond what a recruiting team has the capacity to actually ingest, you can actually really improve liquidity in the market and deliver better candidate experience.
Love that.
Yeah. And you would think, okay, so recruiters are all comfortable now recording and transcribing their interviews and getting their notes written up, but would they be comfortable with enabling an AI interviewer to do some of the work that they historically did? Is that going to feel threatening? Are they going to be on their heels about that? And honestly, the feedback that we've gotten from recruiters is like, this is a godsend, because I'm getting better candidates into the funnel that I would have passed over otherwise. And now I can spend my precious time cultivating those candidates, like, pre-closing them,
Right.
working with them, delivering a better experience.
The human side of it.
Yeah, again, we're improving liquidity in the market in a way that was impossible to do without technology.
And it's the recruiters that are going to be open and adaptable to this change. The ones that are going to be stuck in the ways like any other role, they're going to be extinct. If you don't evolve in any career, if you don't adapt to the technology, if you don't lean into it and embrace it, this technology is not going anywhere.
I think the rate of change has, for me personally, the last 6 weeks have been like truly eye-opening, because I feel like I've gone with tools like Claude Cowork and seeing the work that our engineering team is doing. It's truly like the agents are becoming like longer range. They're able to take on more complex tasks. Like, I asked a colleague of mine on the engineering team to help me out with a task, and he did it in about 5 minutes, and I asked him how he did it. And he said, I just told my agent that you slacked me, and then it did the rest of the work.
Literally, the command was find Teddy's Slack and execute on what Teddy asked for.
Yeah, that was it.
That's crazy.
And then he like quality controlled it, and the work was done.
It's an incredible whirlwind. Well, I should have started off with congrats on the acquisition.
Thank you.
How has it changed you personally?
Oh, me personally, I mean, it is. If I take a step back, we started BrightHire with a mission to give everyone the hiring experience they deserve. That's why we exist. And a mission is something that you always work toward, but you never feel like you're going to fully achieve. And joining Zoom and thinking about the platform we get to build on and the distribution that we have feels like we've taken a massive step forward to being able to actually deliver on that mission. That's incredibly exciting.
That's in the heart. It's like we did it. We got to where we want to go, and now we're empowering us, the team, everyone that works with us, to take it to the next level.
Well, and the journey's not done. Like, it feels like we closed a chapter, but we got a lot more to write in the book. Yeah. And joining Zoom is pretty special. Zoom is still a founder-led company. Like, Eric Yuan, the founder, CEO, still runs Zoom at, $4 billion in revenue and 8,000 employees. And so to work closely with somebody like that, who's grown to that level of scale, but respects entrepreneurs and our creativity and the speed that we want to work at, that's really special.
How important was what you just said when you made that decision?
Very,
it had
very
to be.
important. Yeah, of course.
You don't want to just get acquired and then you're gone and done, and then it gets absorbed into some massive.
No, there was very strong strategic alignment in a couple different directions. The founder mentality being one, the ability for us to create kind of bespoke, function-specific AI workflows on top of this really incredible communications platform to be in the flow of work, which has always been a really important part of our product thesis. And their track record with other acquisitions like WorkVivo in the HR space, that they've been able to grow really exponentially, but also allow them to like continue to own their brand, own their culture, and like really thrive. All of those things are really important.
Fantastic. Well, Teddy, leave us with one final aha moment walking the floor here. And you could name the company or product or whatever, but what is something that really impressed you where you had to do a double take and be like, what are you guys doing?
I have to say this. It's actually the work that the customers that I'm talking to are doing themselves with their own AI workflows.
Okay, I like this.
Because it's raising the floor for what any vendor in this space has to deliver. Because the first question that every team is asking themselves is like, why can't I just build this myself?
Right.
And there was an interesting framework that one of our customers shared, which was like, if it's not touching PII or compliance or regulatory considerations, if it's just like a workflow optimization tool, we're going to build it.
We can build it ourselves.
And it's not like we are going to, like, we've already built it and we've already canceled contracts with software vendors that like we won't name, but like that don't have defensibility. And so you have to, I think everybody and inclusive of us needs to think really hard about what's defensible over time and where do you create the incremental value when it becomes so much easier to build on your own.
And I echo that sentiment because I truly believe what we saw last year at Transform, some of them are still here, but a lot of them are not going to be here because they're exactly what you said. Companies could build it on their own.
The other thing that struck me was, as I was talking with a number of our customers, there's been a proliferation of vendors because it's easier to build with AI.
That's the other side of it.
And their take was, right now, the most important commodity that any vendor on this floor has is trust. It's trust, it's brand, it's actually like integrity, it's delivering on your promise. And
getting back to the old school.
Yeah, it's the old school. It's investing in post sales and like really showing up and being here and being on the floor. That stuff actually matters even more now when there's so much noise in the market. And it's hard to build, it's easy to lose.
Absolutely. Teddy Chestnut, BrightHire, connect with them on LinkedIn. Check out BrightHire.com.
Yeah, that's right.
There we go.
Great to see you, man.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Congrats again, man.
wisdom is forever, but for us, it's time to go. Thank you for joining us. Luckily, we'll be back with our next episode soon, jam-packed with more incredible humans. Thank you for listening, subscribing, and sharing. To join the conversation, search the Podcast on LinkedIn. And to catch up on past episodes and more info, please visit www.thepodcast.com.